y llama a un hermano, ring, a las 11 de la noche. Hermano, estamos escuchando la emisora aquí en La Nueva y queremos saber por qué estás tocando estas canciones. Estas canciones son del enemigo y por qué no ponen canciones de adoración para adorar a nuestro Dios a esta hora. Y yo
soy la teología en la calle en estos ritmos.
What's good, amigo teólogo y teóloga? Bienvenido, bienvenida a tu canal, La Teología de la Calle. Mi nombre es Carlos Irizarria, que hablamos sobre dos cosas específicamente, música urbana y dos, religión, especialmente cristianismo. Si uno de esos dos temas te interesa, considera suscribirte a nuestro canal, darle like al video y seguirnos en todas las redes sociales como La Teología de la Calle. Hoy tenemos otro podcast durísimo. En esta ocasión tenemos un invitado súper especial. Es un honor, es un privilegio para mí tener este pana aquí. Él es, podríamos decir que uno de los precursores, una de esas primeras personas, un cornerstone, uno de esos tipos que comenzó lo que nosotros, los creadores de contenido, hacemos hoy antes de que nosotros estuviéramos haciendo lo que estamos haciendo hoy. Si eso hace sentido. Ok, este pana, antes de que el internet fuera el internet, de que el Instagram fuera Instagram, este pana estaba rompiendo, una de las mejores voces en la radio, un tipo extremadamente talentoso, tiene un podcast increíble llamado Daddy Dialogue. Está durísimo, hablando sobre temas de paternidad. Tienen que chequear ese podcast. Sin más, con nosotros Jay Blaze. Papi, what's good?
Oye, man, excited, man, to be here with you. I really appreciate it. Tú sabes que I was waiting for the opportunity to hear you do that intro because I've heard you a million times do it.
De verdad.
And it's like a dream come true. Que ya, the whole intro you do, you know how people always make fun of us because when we go on the radio, we do our thing. I was like, man, I can't wait till he does the intro. That now I know I'm here officially. But no, man, un privilegio estar aquí contigo and just honored to be here, man, with you.
Papi, gracias a ti, gracias por la oportunidad de poder tenerte aquí con nosotros en LJ Media, los panas que se aseguran de que, papi,
Jay, man,
esto se escuche en la madre, se ve en la madre, luces, cámara, sonido, toda la vuelta, shoutouts a los panas.
Makes it happen.
Papi, ustedes tienen que ver la conversación pre-podcast y probablemente la que vamos a tener post-podcast.
Why not? We should release some of that.
Papi, claro que sí, porque aquí tenemos a Jay, que es, vamos a hablar de eso ahora, pero el pana tiene una vasta experiencia en la radio. No sé si se dieron cuenta que su voz, nada más, la cadencia, un tipo súper experto en la radio, y se juntó aquí con Jay, el pana de LJ Media, que es otro freak de esta vuelta, y olvídate, o sea, si usted quería aprender sobre cámaras y luces y micrófonos y toda esa vuelta,
great conversations, man.
Papi, durísimo. Bro, Jay, como estábamos hablando, tú eres un tipo, wow, que cuando vamos a hablar de creación de contenido, man, especialmente en medios digitales, de hablar tipo blogs o podcasts, cosas así por el estilo, tú, por lo menos en el lado latino y / dedicado al ambiente cristiano religioso, tu nombre gotta come up, bro. No hay manera de esquivarlo. Es un honor para nosotros. En ese sentido, quisiera que nos contaras un poquito de tu historia, de cómo surge ese interés tuyo por querer hacer radio y eventualmente, no sé si la radio vino primero o vino después, o si fue que empezaste a hacer contenido.
No, yo te explico.
¿Cómo surge la vuelta de interesarte en hacer contenido específicamente sobre música urbana?
Oye, men, qué bueno que puedo decirle esta historia después de 20 años. Puedo darle esta historia que exclusiva aquí contigo, porque mucha gente no la sabe. Para serte sincero, man, the way I got into radio was actually because I got fired from my job. Yo tenía un trabajito en un non-profit. Okay, yo trabajaba en para que tú veas, una organization que le daba comida a las iglesias en la ciudad. Okay.
Wow. Like a food
bank, eso mismo, un food bank. Boom, yo trabajaba ahí, llegaban los pastores de todo, y yo no sabía que muchos años después yo iba a estar en la radio y esos mismos pastores yo iba a interact with them.
Claro.
But I didn't know this. So I'm at this job, y serte sincero, yo estaba haciendo una mafia media escondida ahí, y un día cuando yo pienso que me van a dar un raise, me botan. Recién about to be married con mi esposa que tengo ahora, Nidia. Eso hace 20 años atrás, ¿ok? Me van a votar, pero me dicen, en ese tiempo me votan. I remember I had 2 months to my marriage, antes de casarme. 2 meses. Y yo asustado, like, oh my God, no tengo dinero. ¿Cómo voy a pagar la boda? Yo asustado. ¿Ok? Radio wasn't even eso no era en el pensamiento mío. Me dicen, ok, mira, para coger, mira, para que tú veas la historia, para que tú veas cómo Dios trabaja. Me dicen, oye, para que tú cojas unemployment, vete a este centro aquí de employment y si buscas un trade, te damos un cheque cada semana de work release. So I'm like, all right, you're going to give me the check, I'll do whatever you want.
Bro.
So yo me siento ahí, veo un papel, hay de todo. There's all these trades. You got to pick a trade.
Okay.
I look at the paper, at the bottom it says radio and TV broadcasting.
Oh,
And
wow.
I take it, bro. I see a lo Franco, like, whatever.
¿Qué
Boom.
puede pasar?
¿Qué puede pasar? Porque yo tenía un tío dominicano que todavía está vivo, que era locutor en ese tiempo en Paraíso, muchos años atrás.
Wow.
Y cuando yo era chamaco, yo lo veía, él se paraba enfrente de su casa, en su balcony, y él leía los newspapers como un broadcast.
Wow.
Esta tarde, él hacía todo eso. Y yo de chamaquito
Pa'l barrio.
Sí, bro, y yo me asustaba, like, oh my God, that guy's amazing. One day I'm going to talk like that guy. Oh my God, that's amazing. That's outstanding. Y para que tú veas, I'm going to tell you what happened many years later. So, point is, I take the trade.
Okay.
I go to Miami Lakes Tech, a small little technical school.
Okay.
There's a white professor that doesn't like me. He thinks
¿En Estados Unidos? Qué
sí,
raro.
claro, que imagínate.
Qué raro.
And so I go in there and I'm about to fail the class. I'm taking radio.
Okay.
Back then it was splice. It wasn't, you weren't using computers. It was reel to reel. Like, era un tape. You recording and you splice, you tape. Old school. No es ahora lo que están ahora, Fruity Loops y lo que sea.
Ahora tenemos una asignación de buscar en YouTube que es
No,
Splice y cómo se usaba
no,
eso.
it's very different. And so I went to technical school. After a year me di cuenta rápido que la gente que estaban en la clase mía, toditos ya tenían internships en emisora y yo como un bobo todavía en la clase, esperando que yo terminara los 2 años para que tirarme para una emisora to intern.
A ver, para empezar.
So yo dije, no, papito, if these people are smart, I need to start. So yo empecé a buscar qué emisora me daba una oportunidad. En ese tiempo nadie quería, nobody. Yo era muy secular. I sounded too secular for the Christians, and for the Christians, it was back and forth.
Claro.
And so the first intern job I got was at Jay might know this, Spirit FM. This is 89.7 Spirit FM. One of my mentors is a guy named James Shepard that was a huge radio DJ in the city.
Nice.
Pero ellos me daban un segmento.
This is in the 90s. Esto es los 90.
Sí, los 90. Oye, pero no tan viejo soy.
No, para saber, bro.
Yeah, like 98, early 2000s. And let me tell you, the station, it was CCM, Contemporary Christian Music,
Okay.
for older white ladies that are 25 to 44. Christian, white,
Wow.
not Hispanic, not black. So they gave me a segment, 60 seconds, que se llamaba Intern Manny. Y yo iba, la estación estaba enfrente de Bayside. ¿Tú sabes dónde está Bayside?
Claro.
Donde están los hits, todo eso.
Ajá.
They would walk me daban, en ese tiempo salió Passion of the Christ, muchos años atrás.
Wow, loco.
Loco, me daban-
2003 fue eso, 2002.
Sí,
2003.
luego me daban stickers, par de CD de Carmen o quien sea, y vete cruza and get some interviews. Y llega y hablo para el segmento. Y yo hice eso por un año. Y
Por un año.
un año, sin pagar. No me estaban pagando, yo era un intern. Y mi esposa mirándome, diciendo, mira, para que tú veas, mi esposa diciéndome, y la situación de radio, ¿cuándo va a pagar? Porque aquí hay que pagar el bill,
Claro.
Y yo asustado, like, ay, Dios mío, eso mira lo que pasa.
Wow.
En ese tiempo hay una emisora nueva que compra, y voy a llegar al punto.
No, papi, este es tu podcast.
Ok, llegó
Da
una
la vuelta que tú quieras.
Llegó, en ese tiempo estaba Paraíso, 88.3.
Ok.
Okay, it was run by a bunch of Christians from this church in Kendall called SIM.
Ok.
Okay, whatever. This Puerto Rican guy, this real respected, la voz oficial de Univision. Se
Oh,
me olvidó,
wow.
Pastor Boricua, tiene tremenda voz. Es una bestia. Ese pastor tiene una voz que you hear him on all the novelas. Point is, he bought the rival station, okay?
Ok.
At that time, había unos chamaquitos que estaban haciendo un programa los viernes por 2 horas. Y ellos tocaban, tenían como 60 CD y ellos tocaban uno atrás del otro. Uno atrás de un CD y el otro. Bam, 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 bam.
CDs.
CD, loco, en ese tiempo, okay? 2 CD players, uno y después you let one play, boom, you play the other one. Boom, boom, boom. There was none of that. De que, automation, nada de eso. And so me dicen, oye, en ese tiempo yo era rapero. I used to rap. So there's a YouTube video you can find right now.
Bro.
Me rapping 20 years ago on stage.
We're going to find that video. We're going to put it in the description.
That's why
bro.
the passion of artists became serious for me, because I was an artist first.
Yo, broken down with the spirit of Christ. Whoa, you have to rock the time, yo. So respond to you, respond to you, and the love that's on your body floor. Chose the right path with another glass, with a pin in the path. we're unchangeable. God's unchangeable desire. So he's a true God. Then God Almighty. Roger and Aphrodite. God's true to this surroundings. Suited, not for human sympathy. God's been good to me. Showing me. Hallelujah. God perfect Christ. And still we go on and on for like a mile a minute. And you can read it. My stage and we see it.
And so, en ese tiempo, bro, I'm interning at the station. No me quiere dar una oportunidad. And a rival station hears me on a commercial. En ese tiempo, esa emisora no tenía nadie que hablaba inglés. Everybody was Colombian. I was the only intern that spoke English.
Wow,
So,
al revés.
Pero mira lo que pasó. Viene un concierto y dice, oh, we want to do a spot with the station. Aquí están 3,000 pesos. Y'all need to do, the event was called Jesus or Die. It was a hip hop concert in Kendall. And they're looking at the station, King, who could voice this in English? And they're like, oh, Manny, busca Manny. Él no habla inglés, él no habla español, pero habla inglés. Tráelo. Because they looked at me, they would make fun of me because my Spanish, the Puerto Rican Dominican thing was broken. And to them, the Colombian Spanish was perfect. And so they would make fun of me. We would go back and forth. And so what happened was, this is what happened. So, man, I do the commercial. They get paid. I didn't get nothing.
Wow.
The station that I do that was rivaling us in the city hears the commercial and asks somebody at the station, who's that guy that did the commercial? We want to talk to him now. And so yo soy un intern. Yo no tengo trabajo, bro. Yo estoy en ese tiempo, para que tú veas cómo está la situación. I was newly married. We lived in a little efficiency. Yo y mi esposa. Yo tenía un van que yo iba a rap con mi nombre para dar mixtapes a los eventos. Así que yo promovía a la gente. Yo no había oportunidad. En ese tiempo no había ni MySpace todavía. Loco, yo iba, you would let me go to your event. And all I would say is, let me get on stage and MC as long as I can give my little mix show. Yo tenía un mix show que yo hacía con un Radio Shack mic de 1 hora, loco, con 12 songs. Yo hablando in between every song. Dreaming one day I'll get on the radio. Somebody will give me a chance. And so after I go to school, somebody calls from the other station. So somebody finds me and they call me. Hey, can we talk to you? And I'm like, bro, I'm broke. I'm looking for money. My wife is looking at me. So I sit in a meeting with these people and they're like, man, we love your voice. Nobody knows who you are. We want to put you on every day, Monday to Friday, 3 to 7, música tropical cristiana.
Prime time.
Ajá. Y la emisora se llamaba Génesis 90.9. Ok, en ese tiempo. And so yo me siento con la persona y yo no sabía que esa persona iba a comprar la emisora donde yo estaba también. Él compró las dos. Primero compró una y se comió la otra también. He bought both. Pero en ese día, yo dije, mira, yo voy a mi casa, voy a hablar con mi esposa, vamos a orar y yo vengo, I'll come back.
Ahora.
I was struggling, bro. Yo me monto en el carro. Yo sabía que yo no iba a coger la... I knew I wasn't going to take the position. I'll tell you why.
Why not, bro?
Because they wanted me to play tropical music. And I wasn't going to... Well, I was going to play Giovanni and Keruin and like, come on, bro. Like, that wasn't going to work. You know what I mean? Like, eso a mí, yo no iba... yo no podía, I couldn't see myself. And you know, ya tú sabes lo que es eso. En esos tiempos, no te... Who else? Richie Ray, Bobby Cruz.
Claro.
No, papá.
Digo, son unas bestias la salsa, pero nada lo tuyo.
No disrespect.
Claro.
I knew that I was here for urban people. Like, that's what I was going to do.
No, y en ese tiempo la cultura era como que bien, papi, no, si yo soy rapero, yo soy hip hop. Esto.
Y como yo estaba bien claro en lo que yo quería hacer, yo fui a la entrevista y yo estaba contento because I was like, man, somebody sees my talent. But I knew getting in my van, que no tiene AC, I was broke, casi no tiene dinero to get back, porque eso era ahí para Mall de America, drive all the way back.
O sea, bien al sur en Miami, tú vivías más arriba.
Sin dinero, unos rotos, sin un peso. Y I remember I'm driving back home. And I'm crying because I know I'm going to have to tell my wife, I can't take this job. God, you got to find something else. And I'm driving, okay, bro? And my phone rings. Ring. And it's La Nueva.
On your way back.
Driving back from that interview, I'm driving. My hair stick up. This guy works. I'm driving. I'm crying in the car like, man, this is my opportunity. I can't get it. Nobody really understands that I'm ready. I'm prepared. I've been groomed. I've been doing shows for a year in my home. Like I was ready for a microphone. Vámonos. I had everything set out. I'm driving, my phone rings, and it's Mauricio Quintana, the general manager at Paraíso, the competition.
Yeah.
And he says, hey, I heard that they offered you a job. Te ofrecieron un trabajito. ¿Tú lo cogiste? ¿Tú firmaste papel? Yo dije, no ha firmado nada, pero lo estoy pensando. No, ven, habla con nosotros hoy. Bang, bang, bang. Yo era un intern. Yo no le importaban. They didn't care about
nadie.
Nadie, loco. All of a sudden, I'm sitting in the gerente's office. He's like, hey, they must see something and we're missing it. We're not going to miss it. So we're going to pay you and we're going to put you, what do you want? And so it was a Tuesday. Ellos me dijeron, show me a show. If you show me a show and we like the sample, you're on Friday. Loco, esa noche yo llamé a un chamaco que se llama Angel Acevedo, a DJ. Loco, you need to show up now. We're going to record the demo right now. Llegó, boom, yo lo grabé mi segmento, puse la música, boom, 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 we tapped everything in. I had the CD in their desk the next morning when they woke up. Boom, it was already there. They heard it. They were like, oh, you're outstanding. You're good. Friday, you're on. And that started a Friday, bro. You remember, esto es lo que más para que tú veas cómo yo trabajo.
Bro.
Yo me recuerdo que el tipo me dijo, Mauricio, todavía está ahí como gerente en La Nueva. Now it's La Nueva. It's not Paraiso anymore. He's still there.
Shout out to
Mauricio and Camilo. Those guys are amazing. They gave me my shot when nobody cared. And, man, el tipo me dijo, brother, you're going to do radio. You're going to get to do your own show and we're going to pay you. And I looked at that dude like, what? You about to pay me to do what I like to do? This is crazy. I looked at him like, you can't be really, I've been killing myself. There's no way. And so, en ese tiempo, empecé así los viernes. De viernes 1 hora, it turned into 2 days, 6 hours. And that show lasted for almost 9 years, sin parar.
Wow.
Yeah, and then it went from 2 stations to almost 12 at one time.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was in other states, in Puerto Rico. It started going everywhere. And I started taking the one show because nobody had nothing back then. I was one of the only guys being able to speak both languages.
Yeah.
And being able to tap in. So white people, gringos loved it. They were like, yo, this is dope. Gospel people were like, we could play this and you can get the Hispanics to join. And so I was the connection there. And that just created a thing where, yeah, man, it was almost 10 years. And then, I stopped after I got my kidney. And then after I thought I was done, God called me again. And I was driving Uber and happy with life. And I hadn't touched the microphone in 2 years. One day my phone rings, a program director in Texas says, hey man, God woke me up at 3 a.m. He said, you're going to do my afternoons here in Houston, Texas. We reached over 1 million people. I was like, you're crazy. Jesus didn't say that to me. Bro, you crazy? Like, what? I just bought this house in Hollywood. There's no way. Why am I going up for what? To do what? You crazy? I left. I don't even know if I'm ready to even touch a microphone. But God had other plans, man. And we ended up going. And it was a great season. 2.5 years he spent at NGen. It was one of the only stations of its kind. And we were able to represent Latinos in a way that's been my aim. There's a huge disconnect.
Claro.
Eso tú te vas a dar cuenta con tiempo between the Anglos, the Hispanics, the Blacks, when it comes to not just faith, but also radio.
Claro.
And so my drive was always like, how do I get these people to connect with me? How do I engage with them? And it turned into let's get artists. And I remember having a really serious conversation. This was like 8 years ago with Funky. I was trying to get Funky to do a song with Andy Mineo or Lecrae.
Claro.
Nothing. They didn't. Back then, Lecrae and Andy didn't know and understand the number and the impact that Latinos had.
Claro.
And now they've done it. After they saw the YouTube numbers, they're like, these Hispanic guys are killing us with the numbers. And so I always knew Latinos had power in a way that I felt like God always empowered me. That's why I'm excited about you. And your wife is because you represent us in a way. In a genre that is sometimes sometimes it's not. Sometimes, you don't think it is. Like, let me tell you something, man. Sometimes you'll be doing things, and this is what I've understood now. And sometimes I feel like, I'm old, bro. Llevo muchos años en esto, and I feel like I'm an old dude at this. But sometimes, like, we don't know the impact, or God will use us. Like, we won't get it now. It'll take you 10 years down the line to really realize, wow, God used you and your wife to start the opening of urban church planners that are Latino based. It's just, it's going to take, and you might be the stepping stone or the one that takes the cantazos. Cause I feel like it took me a long time.
That too.
Yeah, it took, and I'm being honest, because sometimes we picture like this beautiful journey. went through a lot. Like I struggled through a lot of identity issues, a lot of, almost lost my marriage because of this stuff. This microphone thing almost became my God.
Wow.
And I was so entrenched in wanting to do this, and only this, that I didn't, Loco, we couldn't have a conversation if in my mind I wasn't thinking about how this is going to benefit what I'm doing in ministry.
Claro.
And so like, I'm extremely careful now who I engage with, because I want to make sure my heart is in the right location, because I know what it is to play the game and be like, yeah, this dude got this follower, this dude, and you look what yeah, and this dude, yeah, they use that word, they love it. It's the most generic word ever. No, let's connect, let's vibe, let's network. And you're like, well, homeboy, we know like that's not really gonna go down like that. There's other motives, and so because of that, it's made me be aware, be more conscious, use discernment. And not that I'm being religious. You get hurt a lot, bro, by making really, and I think, and I'll end with this and we can keep going. I think.
No, papi, no termina, dale por ahí para abajo.
No, yo creo que una de las cosas que me dolió mucho en el proceso de Dios usarme en ese proceso de hacer radio es que perdí muchas relaciones buenas de calidad.
Wow.
Porque estaba, exacto, gente de valor, gente que tenían calidad, gente que vinieron dispuestos a ayudar sin interés de nada, y por mi propia, because of my immaturity, because of me not being wise in certain things, I hindered those relationships. Y yo te digo que aquí la alarma estaba riendo con nosotros, pero no importa. It doesn't matter. And I lost great relationships because of it. So I'm extreme. This is my water?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Lord Jesus.
Bro, I told you so.
Loco, I feel like now I'm extremely careful with relationships.
Claro.
It's important because at the end of the day, like God just uses us for a season, and I'm embracing where I'm at now. So I'm excited about where I'm at. It's taken a long time to transition to that.
Claro.
Because sometimes there's moments you think, oh, I'm back there. I'm still doing that. I'm still hooked with that. And then in reality, you're like, no, bro, I'm a dad. Like life has changed. My seasons are different. My heart is in a different place. My posture is, these things are more important to me than these things. And so every time I get around dudes, like last time we met at your launch, at your church launch, that weekend, I met some influencers that were down here, your friends, a couple of them. I think it's Bendecido TV, el otro, el amigo
TV.
And I sat with them, and these guys are like dying to get all this information. I'm like, look, bro, there's no magic to this. It's just a lot of hard work. But make sure, one, that you take care of your wife and you love her first.
Bro.
And make sure that the amount of effort you put into this, you put into this woman that is supporting your behind here and putting up with all the crap you got going on. And it's taken me, yo te digo esto de experiencia, like it took me a long time to realize that. I didn't know that, bro. I was so caught up in all ministry and the numbers, and I want people to see, and I want to be, we give this vision of like, we want to be, it's like we haven't even impacted the four walls of our church, but we're so intrigued that we want to impact. No, porque un hermanito de otra iglesia en Nicaragua nos dijo, tú vas a tocar las naciones, hermano, y tú te emocionas. And you're like, oh. And so, bro, I thank God that I keep perspective in mind. And at the end of the day, like, I love my wife first. I make sure that the people that are around me, I stay connected with them. It's important because I lost a lot of relationships because of ministry, bro.
Bro, qué duro. Eso mismo te iba a preguntar, como que algunos consejos, ¿verdad? De cuando uno está en ese pursuit, ¿verdad? En ese joseo de, mano, esto es lo que me gusta, la creación de contenido. Arrancaste con lo de la esposa, creo que es súper importante con los muchachos, el consejo para Bendecido y para MBello TV, que son creadores de contenido que obviamente, como todos nosotros, tenemos nuestro day job, nuestro trabajo secular, etcétera, y tenemos que hacer eso normal para poder sustentar, obviamente, nuestra familia y esta pasión que sentimos por hablar sobre la música urbana, sobre nuestra fe, etcétera. Pero dijiste algo bien interesante que me parece que es súper importante, y era que esto mismo, casi el micrófono, se convierte en tu Dios. Y eres la segunda persona que escucho decir algo parecido. También nuestro amigo Miguel Montes de UNT, allá en Orlando, él tiene una emisora y nos estaba contando a Sarinete y a mí hace un tiempo que como la emisora Y este deseo de predicar y de compartir música, etcétera, a través de una radio digital y de hablar, etcétera, estaba acaparando todo el aspecto de su vida, bro. Familiar, económico, todo. O sea, la emisora acaparaba todo. Llegó un punto donde era o la emisora, me quedo aquí y suelto lo demás, o suelto la emisora y me quedo con mi familia y con las demás cosas, pero no pueden ser las dos cosas a la vez. Y siento que con la creación de contenido, ya sea de música urbana o de lo que sea, o de ser locutor o whatever form of content you are creating, siento que muchas veces ese protagonismo de ser la persona que está frente a la cámara o frente al micrófono, etcétera, como que poco a poco es como ese cáncer que va creciendo y tú no te das cuenta, como el traje negro de Spider-Man en la película ya del 2000, qué sé yo, 5 o 6, que tú piensas que este poder es bueno, pero al fin y al cabo como que va calcomiendo un poquito. ¿Cuál tú crees, verdad? ¿O cuál sería una medida, un consejo práctico para todas esas personas que crean contenido, música urbana, whatever, you name it, para que esta creación de contenido, no se convierta en nuestra identidad? Muchas veces sentimos que si no estoy publicando cosas en las redes sociales, estoy atrás. Si no estoy publicando cosas en las redes sociales o creando contenido, otras personas me están pasando el rolo. Si no estoy publicando, si la gente no está viendo, si no tengo estos números en las redes sociales, pues entonces lo que estoy haciendo pierde credibilidad y se convierte en nuestra métrica para definirnos a nosotros como seres humanos, no como creadores de contenido, como seres humanos. ¿Qué tú nos puedes aconsejar a un tipo que lleva 25, 20 años, whatever plus en la carretera, lidiando con situaciones como esta?
Man, the thing that I've learned to this point, it's a beautiful balance that's extremely hard to navigate, if that makes sense. So, and I said this to these guys recently. I was like, listen, man, the same amount of effort and fervency you put into this ministry and trying to figure out your analytics and making sure your hook is dope. Like right now, I'm struggling trying to make sure that my hooks on my YouTube videos. Soli, estaba hablando con Soli. Shout out to Soli that you had. And me llamó, oye, Jay, I think you should be. And I was like, oh man, now I'm literally killing myself trying to figure this out. But I make sure now at this age that the same effort I put into putting all that effort into finding out my metrics, making sure my thumbnail is dope, making sure I'm caught up on Instagram, that I'm posting, that my intimate time with God. And I know this sounds real generic. I know it sounds very churchy. I know it sounds, but I've realized, and this is why I say this, I'm not about to shoot you 15,000 Bible verses. I'm going to explain this one thing to you. No matter how many strategies you have, how many systems in place you have set up, how many people you know, how many connects you got, how many followers you have, none of that can compare to God saying, I want to literally put my hand on your situation and it's going to go viral in a way that you could never do by yourself. But it takes wisdom. It takes sovereignty. It takes peace. It takes intelligence. It takes maturity to be like, I care enough, because sometimes I feel like we're so caught up on that part, on los números, right? Claro. And we're not even ready that if the numbers were to get there and we were supposed to get to that platform, we wouldn't be prepared, like spiritually, because we've never we haven't put the work in privately and been like in our pride. And I tell you that because I'm dealing with it in my own personal life right now after many years. I wish at that time, it's sad that I say this to you, but it's the reality. Many of those years that I was doing ministry, I could tell you, if I had to give it a percentage, I was so caught up. I would say 70, 80% in ministry and 20% alone time with Jesus. Because I was so overly consumed in like ministry, and we got to do this, and I got to have a website, and I got to have a MySpace. Back then era un MySpace con 3 players. Loco, era una situación. I got to have my graphics. I got to have the flyers. We got to go to this event. Este fin de semana hay 3 eventos. Hay que ir a este. Loco, and you're on this thing. It's this never-ending wheel that doesn't end. And then you realize one day you wake up and you're like, what am I doing? Is God really being manifested in this? Am I really, truly saying, God, I'm resting in you in the way that I'm moving? Because if I have to go this hard and you're not a part of it, then why am I even doing it? And so I say that now because even in my own life, I say it in the sense of, I realize now, I've been a dad for 9 years. My son's about to be 10. And I realized at this age that I've sort of halfway discipled my son to this point. The last 8 months have totally changed for me. I've had to be like intentional and be like, if I'm going to put all this effort into my own life, why am I not putting this effort into shepherding my son the right way? I'm doing him an injustice. Like, I'm literally walking with Jesus and saying, well, I'm giving my son halfway of this. We'll see because I'm so caught up in my own life, in my own little podcast, in my own little crap. And so I use the same ramifications and say, whatever you're doing with this ministry thing, make sure that the same kind of effort and fire you have for this. Because let me tell you, esto tú lo sabes. La emoción y la pasión que tú tienes y el llamado que Dios te ha dado para estar a las 2, las 3 de la mañana metido y que editando clips. Loco, imagínate si tú gastas 10, 20 minutos nada más hablando con Dios. Más intencional and saying, like literally saying, Lord, I'm going to take, and I know I sound like the old guy from church. El viejo que está atrás, que siempre te está dando el consejo and you don't take it. But bro, when you understand that God could do what you can't, and I'm not saying don't do the work. I'm not saying be lazy. Yeah, do the work. But imagine when you do what you need to do, plus privately, you're doing what you need to do.
Claro.
Like you're seeking his rostro privately. Bro, the ramifications of what that could look like, I can't explain it to you.
Claro.
Bro, there's things in my life, en los 20 años que yo estaba haciendo ciertas cosas, que algunas veces yo me estaba matando en meses tratando de hacer. Y Dios decía, loco, conéctate conmigo, olvídate de, like, and I know you heard that before in the preaching. And I would say, you know what, Lord, I'm going to literally rest on you in this. And I'll meet one person, some random dude at an event.
Que nunca has vuelto a ver en tu vida.
Loco, and he'll open the door that I couldn't open for 2 months, but because I'm so caught up. And that's the thing, man. The funny thing about social media and all this content creation is that it's tricky, man, because you're always, it's evolving so fast. And even as we were talking off air, you're thinking about, am I caught up with the latest thing? Am I editing fast enough? And I literally have to sometimes lay back. It's something I'm doing now presently, privately, like, Lord, regardless of how excited I might be or driven, I can't go faster than what you can do. Like, and I have to literally trust and rest in you and say that whatever it is you're going to get me to, you're going to get me there. If you're going to get me there. Because that's the other thing about ministry that we seem to forget. We think God has to automatically take us somewhere. Like, we're guaranteed, because you rap or you do a podcast or you got a couple thousand followers on Instagram, then that guarantees Lord is touching your ministry, so you're going to impact the nations. What if God says, no, bro, you're going to be stuck with the 5,000, you're a micro influencer for the rest of your life. Are you okay with that, bar? Because I dealt with that. I know what it was. I remember, te lo digo como ayer, yo me recuerdo cuando yo tenía una pasión tan loca. Yo dije, loco, yo estoy aquí en La Nueva, en Miami, yo quiero estar en Puerto Rico, Santo Domingo, todas las emisoras que me abren, a mí no me importa quién sea, que me den 20 minutos y yo me tiro ahí en esa emisora. I was so caught up, bro. Like, and I remember, estaba como en, like, at one time, like almost 14 stations at one time. Pero el dolor, y no pagando, porque era un dolor de cabeza más dándose en el ministerio para nada. And you're killing yourself. Nada más para decir, para que le diga al hermanito en la iglesia, yeah, I'm in 14 stations, brother. God is using me to impact the nations.
Para el flex,
and you're like, yeah, for your flex, because you're not making no bread. And that's the reality. At one point I realized, God, I'm happy being where I'm at. And I'm okay if you've decided to have me here. I'm all right. I'm okay with that. Even if, you got to grow in maturity for that, because dudes will say that to you, but be hating on the sidelines, like straight capping, like, oh, I don't like this dude. And you know by their actions, how they speak, how they maneuver with you, what they say to you. And I just, at one point, man, I just didn't care. And I'll be honest, me quemé antes que realicé. Before I realized to be mature in it, I burned myself. I burned myself with people. I burned myself with ministry. I burned myself with artists. I burned myself. I just exhausted myself. I was just so overly consumed that it just became a thing. And so when I say that, just make sure the same effort. I tell people that all the time, man, this is all good and it's all gravy and you put all this effort in, but make sure privately you're doing. when I tell people this, I'm talking to myself.
Claro.
Because I was like, this is, and I'll be done with this.
Please don't.
I said, man, I'm sitting here doing a podcast for dads, right?
Uh-huh.
And I'm imparting in these dads and moms, and I got people messaging me. Lito, what are you doing for your son? Like, are you praying with your kid? Do you walk through a devotional with him? Are you shepherding your wife? Do you take her on a date? Are you doing the things that are supposed to happen at home first before you sit on this microphone and you act like you're the know-it-all about dads and blah, 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 blah. And bro, the conviction, you know, and you're like, and if I'm to the point where I am clear that if God says leave it for a minute, I'll leave it. It hurts. No te voy a mentir because, loco, Instagram, when you get a couple followers, tú te emocionas, papá. I gotta keep them there. No puedo, I gotta post today porque si no, se me van los followers. Oh, se me fueron 3, llegaron 2. Muchachito, llega una situación que...
Una crisis existencial.
No, eso tú lo sabes. Like,
I know, bro.
It just becomes this thing that's never ending. And so, I tell that even with the people I deal with now, people that become my friends and know my life, like me as Manuel, not Jay Blaze, I like to ask them, yo, you taking your wife on a date, cuz? Like, you treating your wife right? You're not slapping her, talking to her stupid? Like, being the dude that you need to be first at home before you try to disciple these dudes on the street like you some preacher. Like, to me, that's important.
Claro.
Because if I'm around some dudes that ain't doing what they need to do at home, then there's no need for you to be talking to anybody out here. You need to, it's like, algo que me pasó muchos años atrás y que me empezó. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place.
Bro, this is for you. All over the place.
Algo que me impactó mucho, que me empezó en la jornada de hacer el podcast.
Okay.
El podcast que es dedicated to fathers me pasó
Eso vamos a
porque
hablar ahora.
yo estaba en un sushi restaurant con mi esposa un día. Y en ese tiempo mi hijo tenía como 2 años. Y mi hijo estaba vuelto loco, brother. Subió arriba a la mesa, gritando y no sé qué. Y loco, I try to discipline him in public.
Claro.
Y mi esposa me dice, oye, brother, don't discipline him here publicly if you're not doing it privately. Aquí no te haga el sabio, que eres el papá, que you're disciplinary here. You don't do it at home, don't do it here. Loco, and I ate. Yo comí mal ese día.
¿Qué?
Me callé la boca. I said, wow, man, my wife
right
has...
a la casa, papi.
Sí, loco, real silent. There was no conversation. I was like, play the worship music. Let's go home. And we got home, and I made a decision that day that I would never let my wife talk to me like that again. Not because I was mad, more because I felt convicted that I wasn't doing what I need to do as a father.
Definitely.
I was just trying to be my son's friend instead of shepherding my son and being like, I'm going to be your protector. I'm going to teach you about who Jesus is. These things became adamant. And then the journey, and I know you're going to ask me now, the journey started, at that time, I had been done with radio. I was working at Uber, okay? I was driving Uber.
Full-time Uber.
Full-time, loco. I would wake up at 5 a.m. Hacía mi jornada. I would drive from like 5 to 12, and then I pick up my son from daycare, and I was home cooking at 3. Ya era tranquilito. As long as I could pay the car y la gasolinita, tranquilo. I was like really asking God what was next, because en ese tiempo I had just left the church plant and life was changing for me.
Claro.
That's another story. And so,
ya mismo.
Yeah, and so,
no vas a salvar.
Yeah, I didn't know you were gonna go there. And so, man, I'm driving Uber. One day, my phone rings. This guy I know, Chris Chicago, this amazing radio DJ, says, "Hey, man, God told me you're supposed to do afternoons here in Houston." And I said, "Bro, you're crazy. There's no way." And so I did everything in my power not to get the job. Everything. I sent the old demo. Y mi esposa se ríe de mí. Like, I remember that night, I sent the old demo de 2 años atrás. Mi esposa me dice, ¿qué tú estás haciendo, brother? Si tú sabes que tú estás... You're supposed to... Those people called you from Texas, they want you. And they'll pay you whatever you want. So I asked for more money. I did everything so they wouldn't hire me. Because I'm like, I don't want to go to Texas. It's 1,000 miles away. I just bought this house. Why would I want to leave? Loco. And I did everything I could and I still got hired. I asked for more money. They tripled what I asked for. They did everything. They paid for housing there. They did everything I wanted. They did more. Like they were like, no, we're presenting. You're in. And I remember being there the first week. No te voy a mentir. I get there. I hadn't touched the microphone in 2 years. I forgot. It's like riding a bike, but I was like rusty. Y loco, I go on the air, boom, me open el micrófono, I do my first break. And the guy says, man, you're really good. Like, I haven't heard you in a long time. Pero he doesn't say anything. And so we have a meeting that Friday. It's like a follow-up with your manager.
Yeah.
You know, the station manager.
Uh-huh.
And so I don't know if he did this to scare me, pero me asustó. I just got the job. I had just bought a house there. And so yo estoy nuevo en Houston. Y el tipo me dice, brother, yo no sé si fue bien to hire you. I don't know if you sound you sound really good. You have a great voice, but you sound like an amateur. And bro, I felt challenged, bro. I was like, what? I said something else.
Bro, he knew that.
Yeah.
Él hizo eso con toda la
loco,
intención
que
del
si me
mundo.
encendió. I was like, there's this guy in my brain. This is how I'm thinking. This guy doesn't know me. Like, he doesn't know where I started. This guy doesn't know I started with a Radio Shack mic recording on SoundForge, bro. Like, this guy doesn't know me. He doesn't know nothing. He doesn't know where I can. He's about to know who I am. And bro, I shut off all distractions. And when everybody was out on the weekends, I was in the studio practicing. And bro, by the next week, he was like, I don't know what you did, but your break sounds solid now. And I was like, yeah, bro, I'm putting this work in. And so like, it's always been that's why I admire guys like you here, because I've met a lot of people in ministry that aren't about excellence, bro. Like they're just, it's just ministry, bro. Let's just get it done. And in reality, the quality kills itself in the process. Claro. And so
sacrifican una cosa por la
exacto. Otra. And just to have it done. Mm-hmm. And in reality, I said, man, God, you gave me an opportunity to come to Texas, reach over 1 million people, 3 to 7 every day on the FM dial. Bro, I'm playing the music I want to play. Every Friday, I could play a Latino record, a reggaeton song.
In Texas.
No problem. And people love it. And my hair stick up because these are things that we dream of. Mm-hmm. I know you guys doing content. There's things that one day you're looking and you're like, I want to be like Joe Rogan. I want to be like, you want to be. And that moment I felt like, wow, God, you got me after 10 years of me thinking I was done. This is where you placed me. And man, I remember we were in a concert that weekend and I was just blown away because I went from a station that had no money to a station that had an abundance of money, a budget, street cars. Like, it was just very different. And I was like, if I was making stuff happen in Miami with, loco, era yo que tenía un band rapped con mi nombre. De que Ministry Heat, que no sé qué, yo daba CD, porque I was just passionate, I didn't care. Mm-hmm. Ahora yo voy a un sitio donde hay vanes parqueados, llega Toby Mac, like, it was just very different. And so to me, when I see you guys, like, you guys are an example of like a refined version of what it is to have quality content. And that's why I respect what both of you guys do, especially you. The first time I heard you, I was like, wait up, this dude's saying theology and he's Hispanic? Oh, wait. These dudes are usually charismatic. Like, usually. You know what I mean? Like, dudes aren't really, and again, this is because I came from the charismatic movement and I wasn't being presented a full gospel. I know. And so it took a long time for me to get there. Mm-hmm. So when I'm hearing you say that, I was like, wait up. The fact this dude even has this on his title, I need to go check. Like, who is this cat? And so I'm looking and then I'm like, yo, he's solid. This stuff is okay. He's really giving gospel out here. And then when I see you like throwing the rajatablas out there, the stuff that a lot of us talk about at church and nobody mentions it or wants to bring it out in the forefront. Mm-hmm. I was like, I got to be a friend with this guy because this is like what we always dreamed of seeing, but nobody's doing. And so for that, I admire what you guys do. I admire what you do to this day. There's friends. See, you're one of the few influencers that are Christian that I could be like, look at this rajatabla craziness and look what message this guy is giving that can make you understand clearly without being too deep what. And so you guide them with that. And so to me, that's something that I just didn't see in the 20 years that I did ministry. Bro, it was a jungle out here.
I bet.
Era un jungle, loco. Mira, aquí en ese tiempo, yo tenía que ser amigo de todo el mundo. Like, I couldn't pick, I'm going to be with the theologians or the charismatic. Like, no, it's like, I have no support. So if you're going to help me, then I'm going to use, and I just, it was hard because sometimes I was like, and I had people that would sit with me. I had a guy, oh my God. I can't believe I'm going to tell you this. Hay un señor muchacho que se sentó conmigo una vez. Me invita a di que a... Muchacho se sienta conmigo, porque tú sabes, él dijo, este tipo no es la emisora y él tiene un pacto para los jóvenes, o vamos a hablar con él, porque él no está bien. So the guy sits with, he invites me to eat.
Pero que no está bien, como que.
No, yo te voy a explicar ahora. No, my theology's off.
Okay,
he thinks I'm charismatic and I don't believe in certain things. I'm not presenting a full gospel. And so he sits me down at Bayside, we're eating, and he brings me up he brings me out a YouTube video that Paul Washer.
Oh my.
Yeah! El tipo, it was third Calvinist.
Wow.
Muchacho, me saco el video, un video de Paul Washer que es viral where he was literally kicked out of, he said, you guys.
Mensaje impactante para la juventud.
You will never invite me back. Yeah, you know exactly.
Así empieza.
Loco, so he presents me this, and I'm still friends with that guy to this day. He presented me this message, right? And I'm not going to lie, it tugged. There was some areas of my faith that I was struggling. I was like, man, he makes sense here. Some of this stuff is meh. But I didn't say anything. I just left it there. And years later, I thank God for that conversation because it made me start to really debate where the church, because once I became staff with a church planner, that's when they broke the gospel down, like 7-part. Like, I mean, I was like, I remember, and I'm so honest with this, man. I come from a family of, my grandfather was a pastor, 50 years. My dad's a PK.
Wow.
Tengo un par de tíos que son líderes de jóvenes. Es un grupazo de gente que todo el mundo, everybody in the family is doing church.
Tu familia es una denominación, básicamente.
And man, en ese tiempo, cuando yo me meto en staff, I had an outreach ministry in the city, ahí en la 69 y la 27, it was called the Compassion Lab. Era un cuarto que yo cogí, era un old freezer, y en ese freezer puse ropa y showers. And I would bring homeless people, and they would take showers and give them clothes. And so this is right after I left radio. And so this church planner shows up one day. I don't know this guy. His name is David Rosa. He shows up. Hey man, don't you do radio? I'm like, I used to, bro. I'm done with that. God has really called me to do this. And he doesn't say anything. Oh, man, that's amazing. Okay, he leaves. Comes back the next week. You sure this is what you like to do, bro? And, yeah, man, this is my heart. Like, I really want to do this. This is people I want to serve. Like, radio's cool, but this is where my heart is. And I'm trying to merge both. And so we have these conversations, and one day he says, hey, man, God told me you're the guy that's going to help me start my church.
Bro, Dios siempre está hablando a todo el mundo menos a uno. Eso me saca tanto
Loco,
por el pecho,
yo dije, ¿qué? I said, ¿qué? I said, I'm not a scholar. I didn't go to Bible college. Bro, I'm the worst guy. Right now, I'm salty with church people. Like, I don't even want to, I'm like, no, bro. And he's like, no, bro, you're the perfect candidate. And I'm like, there's no way, bro. Y el tipo bajándome every weekend, me lleva a comer, me medía la misma muela. No, we're going to get you on staff. He's shooting me a salary, todo. Y yo like, bro, no, bro.
Papi, te reclutó.
Y yo hablando con mi esposa, y mi esposa mirándome en la cara and telling me, how does God do this with you? Like, he uses you all the time, and you get these chances and you act like you don't know what's happening. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening. Like, why? And so eventually I take the job. I leave my job at Aramark. Yo era cocinero en un cafeteria called Pal. Yeah, I was cooking. That's why I did tacos. Los tacos. Loco, and so me voy del trabajo de Aramark tranquilo. Yo estaba ahí asando chicken breast a las 5 de la mañana. Era tranquilo, un trabajito suave. Yo entraba a las 6 y a las 12 estaba en mi casa tranquilo. Y yo me recuerdo un día, en ese tiempo yo estaba hablando con el pastor ese, estoy flipping uno chicken breast, like 60 chicken breasts at 5 in the morning on a grill, adentro de un kitchen. Y Dios me dice, loco, yo te di un riñón, te di un hijo, y lo que tú me estás pagando es sentado aquí flipping chicken breasts. And you won't join this guy at a church plan because you're worried about flipping chicken breasts? And bro, the conviction, bro. So I was like, I flipped a couple, and I knew at that moment it was done. So I go to the boss. Era una señora boricua que me quiere mucho, es cristiana. Le dije, mi amor, yo sé que Dios me está llamando para eso. I have to go. Okay, man, no te preocupes, vete, tranquilo. Haz lo que Dios te llamó a hacer, vete.
Wow.
And I leave the job and I work. And bro, la aventura de church planning fue la vaina más sustante de mi vida. lo más agotoso, lo más
Fuerte.
reguetioso, lo más doloroso, lo más... I learned a lot, man. Church planting is a whole nother life.
¿Cómo afectó tu vida el church planting en ese sentido? Porque mucha gente piensa que plantar una iglesia es simplemente decir, gente, este domingo vamos a abrir la iglesia tal, y plantar una iglesia es predicar el domingo y visitar a la gente tal vez en la semana, no mucho, y ya, esa es la experiencia de church planting.
No, loco.
Cuando church plant es básicamente, sé que va a sonar mal, no es lo mismo. Voy a hacer esa aclaración desde el principio. Pero básicamente es un trabajo bien administrativo encima del trabajo pastoral que hay que hacer.
No,
o sea, hay un trabajo pastoral que tú tienes que hacer de predicar, de cuidar a las ovejas, etcétera, etcétera. Y encima tienes que tener una mente administrativa para poder organizar la plantación de la iglesia. Eso conlleva mucha energía mental, mucho trabajo y afecta obviamente todas las áreas de la vida de esa persona o esas personas que están plantando la iglesia. ¿Cómo afectó tu vida ese proceso de plantar una iglesia siendo a la misma vez creador de contenido, huyendo tal vez de ese llamado o con las malas experiencias que habías tenido en el pasado? ¿Cómo pudiste mezclar ambas? ¿Qué pasó en esa vuelta, bro?
Primeramente, men, dale gracias a Dios que en ese tiempo me conecté con el pastor ese que ahora asisto a su iglesia. Después de 8 años estoy ahí ahora. Dios me ha puesto ahí después de 8 años. It's flourishing, it's big, it's growing.
Qué bueno.
I love the mission, it's holistic. Shout out to David Rosa Jr. And that's where I started. And so what does it entail? So the first thing is first. This is the part I wanted to say to you. When I sat down with my church planner, the guy who hired me, right? The pastor, he said, man, first of all, let's talk about your faith. Where are you at? Like, where are your parameters? Where are you at? And it was incomplete. The gospel I knew was there was no resurrection. They would say it, but it wasn't completely a message that it was just incomplete. And so he sat down. I still have the picture to this day, bro. He sat me in his house on a whiteboard and walked me through the whole gospel from the front to the back.
Wow.
Everything. All 7 points. And I remember crying and saying, oh my God, I've been in church this long and nobody taught me this. Like I went to church all these years. I went to a Free Methodist church. That's where my grandfather's from. And it was incomplete. There was just it wasn't a gospel message, bro. It was incomplete. Full of a lot of stories, a lot of emotion and no gospel. And so when that was presented to me, it changed my life, bro. Like I was like, and it took me a while to process and not be the arrogant butthole who wanted to tell all the charismatic people in my Facebook group that they were having a relationship with Jesus that was incomplete. So I was on this parade, like, no, if you want to have a conversation, let's talk, let's debate. And it took...
You want to convince everyone.
Yeah, I want to convince. Yeah, it's hard. And especially when you have all this new knowledge. And so at the time church planning begins, we had nothing, man. We were meeting in a library, a rented room, un cuartito.
Oh, wow.
That's what we did administration. We would meet there. Si el cuarto estaba abierto y podíamos rentar 1 hora o 2 horas, rentábamos el cuarto in a library. That was our office. We started there and then we called a random pastor in the city. Hey, we're a new church plant. We're looking for a building, like, you know, that we can rent just to do administration, whatever, have our team huddle, whatever. And this pastor out of nowhere, bro, he goes, hey, man, come by. We want to talk to you. We show up. He says, oh, man, I have this huge building. I have a room up there. You can have it free. Electricity, light, everything. No problem. Stay there.
In Miami.
Local. Yeah, in Hollywood. When you're seeing God move like that, in the midst of having nothing. Yeah, we had a budget. Yeah, we had a launch team. Yeah, we had a couple things in place. But when you're seeing God move like that, it hypes you up. Like you're like, oh my God, we sort of arrived. Like God is putting his hand on what we're doing.
Dios va al frente abriendo camino.
Pero it comes trifold. It comes with that part, but it also comes with some fire.
Claro.
Fire in the sense that we could be here y te llaman el teléfono de tu esposa oh, Vanita le va a dar un pescozón a la hermanita no sé quién, and you gotta go now because, and as y un día estamos ahí early in the morning, we're prepping for the weekend, for the service. Oh, I'm having a fight with my wife. Come now, and we had to go. We're a couple blocks away. Get in the car. Vamos. And I'm the assistant, bro. I'm not the pastor. I'm not. Yo asustado. Like, what are we about to do? Y llega el pastor ahí. Fuá. What we did is we took the girl out of the situation.
Claro.
We bring in her car and we took her to her family's house. Okay. And this happened many times. Like,
with the same people?
Different people.
All right.
Because a lot of the, when you do, this is the thing, bro. And we're going to have this conversation because you're new in this journey in a way.
Yes, please.
And there's
we both new.
You guys are both new. And there's a question. And I think I told you this when we had the conversation that day, that there is a line when you're doing ministry and God has called you to a certain group of people. Mm-hmm. The kind of people you're going to have is going to determine if you have the finance, 1, to keep a building, mm-hmm. 2, pay your finances, and 3, stay afloat. Mm-hmm. And so there's a balance there in between mm-hmm. that you have to figure out. It's hard because some of the people that are most in need don't have finances. They're mm-hmm. struggling. I remember we would go into communities like projects and we would give our food, but we had to be consistently there. Every Friday, there was a neighborhood, a projects that I have to go to in Hollywood. And yo iba todos los viernes with candies, just to start a relationship. So I could build trust with a lot of these Hispanics, blacks, Latinos, because they just looked at me like, oh, this church dude, he just wants to invite me to church. Mm-hmm. And I had to be the guy who was like, nah, I literally want to connect mm-hmm. with who you are in community. Like, I want to go to the city meeting because at the end of the day, we want to impact the city, but we don't even show up mm-hmm. to the city meeting. And then all the viejitos that have been in the community for 50 years, they go and they make the decisions for people that aren't even impactful in the community. Mm-hmm. And so, like, when you start thinking about all those pieces, it's really important. Church planting is hard in the sense that now it's a lot more complex. Yeah. You're no longer just a pastor. You're not just an administrator. Mm-hmm. You're a fundraiser because you got to get money.
Network.
You got to pay bills. You got to network. You got to go meet people. Bro, the combination of things.
Es una locura, bro. O sea,
it's too crazy. It's too crazy. And to be honest with you, it's a balance that is hard I haven't seen in all the years mm-hmm. that I've seen. Like, I've seen a lot of church planners. I've seen some fail and some win. It more lose than win. It's just really hard. I was writing this today. I put up a picture on Facebook of how our church looked 8 years ago uh-huh. and what it looks like now. And it's taken a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, a lot of struggle, and a lot of perseverance, and even evolving from our pastors. And there's just some parts of it. It's just different. And the thing that I think I've learned, the ones that are successful compared to the ones that are not. And when I say successful, this is what mm-hmm. I mean when I want to make this clear, because you could be a church planner and you could be funded really well mm-hmm. and it could look like you're doing well, but you're not. Uh-huh. People aren't devoted. There's no real team with you. People are just showing up on Sundays. They don't even give you diezmos, cuz, to make sure y'all paying bills. Yeah, it can look a certain way. On social media, especially now, there's people planting that all it is just some church in a building where they're recording uh-huh. worship services and recording preachings. And you think that there's all the hundreds of people and it's son 20 pelagatos. Like, it's not. Entiendo lo que estoy diciendo? And so, like, it's what I say successful is that if I can look at you 3 to 5 years from now mm-hmm. and you have a healthy group of people, mm-hmm. doesn't matter if it's 50 or if it's 500, mm-hmm. but that you have a healthy church of people that are discipling each yes. other and doing ministry and doing outreach and doing something holistically combined with the community, then, my friend, you have what we're looking for. For me.
Yes.
Because I've met people that doesn't look healthy. What looks healthy to them is that I have a big building, that I have 500 people, and that
service.
Yeah. And we have 3 services, and we have translation, and so, like, you realize that if you don't have a healthy church of people and you're not developing leaders and discipling mm-hmm. them, like, you got nothing. It's just you. And it's like, it's not fair to those people that are doing life with you if you're not able to impart what God has given you, so it makes it easier for you to move so you can impact more people. If you're wasting more time doing, it's like right now what I'm doing in this season right now is I'm creating content. I'm realizing and figuring out that I have to bunch content at one time so I can be done with a massive group of content so I can go focus on the stuff that's really important.
Yes.
Not just spend all my time trying to create content. So when it comes to planning a church, if 80% of the time is dealt with just you dealing with trying to set up a service on Saturday, it's not suffice. You're going to kill yourself before 3 years. Vas a estar muerto. You're not going to be able to, and it's not fair to you, and it's not fair to those people that are coming and that are setting up, that are putting up food, that are putting up the tables, that are mad, that are longing for the community that you gave them. And I'll be honest with you. This is what's different in my life now that I didn't know back then when I was church planning with someone. When I joined David Rosa, the agreement was that he was going to disciple me, show me the gospel, not make me a pastor or a leader, but that I was going to be walked through the faith and grown spiritually. So yes, I'll help you with, because I did everything. I shot video. I did all this stuff, but we got caught up. It started great. I was getting one-on-one with the pastor. It was amazing. 3 months in, the hustle and bustle of church, we have a building. Now we got to get chairs. Now hay que buscar esto. Now hay que buscar dinero para pagar esto. And it's loco, un ajestrán. And it slowly, we were like this. I was working with this guy one-on-one, and we started to defer, and the disconnection started to happen. And so, like, I'm extremely careful. I told you this, and I'm going to tell you now again. Like, you're as important as the people that take their time to build with you this thing. Because even now, I tell you this, and David, I told this when I reconnected with my church planner, the guy who got me into this, that I go to his church now. The one thing I said, we reconciled. After 8 years, I was burnt from church. I didn't want to know nothing. I showed up at his church a couple of months ago, and God said, I got to restore this relationship, and I have to at least talk to him. And I told him to his face, this is the pastor, okay? We hadn't talked in 6 years. I said, David, there's people that we hurt that built this church for us. You see this church that we have here? There's 100 members, and we have these lights and this nice building, and tenemos todas estas vainas. Loco, hay gente que se partieron la espalda en ministerio para llegar aquí. And you have to make sure, David, that we talk to them. Because I came and spoke to you. Because maybe I'm different, and I said, I just felt in my heart I had to connect with you and say, but there's people that are hurt, and they don't want to go to church, bro. There's people that come to your church. No, they're done. They're done. They came to yours. You gave them a representation of who Jesus was. Done. They're done with you, cuz. They're not looking at Jesus. They don't want to know. Now they're even more scared because it's work. It's like, we got to set up. We got to tear down. We got to put food. And so I tell people, everybody I meet, every church planner I meet to this day, I say the same thing. Bro, make sure you take care of that team. Make sure you're putting the time aside with them, because people, when they're doing ministry with you, se están matando también. Yo me recuerdo, brother.
Se está matando el doble.
Brother, and they're giving you everything. I remember the kind of sacrifice that I would see other people do, and I felt bad for them. I was like, yo, I'm getting paid. I'm on staff. Go. Vete, I'll put the chairs. Because they're fighting with their wives. And when you're caught up and you're doing church planning with people, there's an excitement that comes at the beginning.
Al principio.
Muchacho, give me a couple months in, and you're going to see the pretenders from the contenders. Like people, and it's okay. Some people are excited about the beginning. They want to support. They come, they see you, they, apoyan como puedan. And then there's others that are going to be, right now, all the people that I started with when we started Cruciform, there's maybe 5 or 6 que quedan that are still there. Like, hay una señora from the UK que se llama Fern. She's an administrator there. She's still there. And when she saw me walk through the door, this is 4 months ago, I walked through the door. She started crying. She's like, I knew one day you would come back to us. Like, because when I left the church plan after 2 years, I was extremely hurt. I was burnt out. I was done. But I didn't say anything. I stayed quiet y me fui.
Bro, pero es que yo creo que muchas veces, y especialmente con la plantación de iglesias independientes, esto es un error que se comete mucho, y es que confundimos el evangelio con el querer presentar una iglesia casi espectáculo. Entonces, pensamos que servir el domingo es llegar a las 6 de la mañana, montar las sillas, poner las luces, poner las bocinas, cuadrar la consola, tener un equipo de 20 personas allí, un domingo a las 6 de la mañana, bro. Que, o sea, muchas veces se toma por sentado
Y
eso.
es el día entero ahí metido.
Y están el día entero porque después de 1, 2, 3 servicios hay que volver a tumbar las cosas, o sea, llevarse las cosas porque están rentados, etcétera. Muchas veces se confunde el trabajo, ese trabajo con servicio de iglesia, con ser cristiano. Y no es así. Ese mismo trabajo lo puede hacer una compañía que la iglesia contrate de montar, de producción, punto, montar y desmontar.
Es verdad.
Y ese dinero que se están ahorrando en esa compañía de producción lo está haciendo, o ese trabajo lo está haciendo feligreses de la iglesia. Y entonces ese deseo de muchas veces lo que vemos en las redes sociales otra vez, de que porque una iglesia tiene una persona que sabe usar una cámara, sabe editar, y con una cámara y 2 personas puede hacerte aparentar que hay una multitud de gente en la iglesia y que la iglesia está thriving y está creciendo.
Ajá.
Y es fake. Esa presión de que yo tengo que hacer que mi iglesia se vea así para que la gente llegue también es una presión innecesaria y que muchas veces los church planters, los pastores, etcétera, eventualmente, por más buena teología que tú tengas, etcétera, la vas a sentir. Te va a llegar y uno tiene que estar bien claro de dónde está la fe y de dónde está la convicción y qué es la iglesia para no caer en la trampa de perseguir esas cosas que se ven bien, son buenas, son brutales, claro que sí, pero lo que tú dijiste, bro, si el 80% de tu tiempo y de la preparación lo estás invirtiendo en prepararte para el domingo nada más, en cuestión de producción,
There's just no way.
bro,
It's
hay
not.
algo mal.
Yeah,
No es que no haya forma, es que hay algo mal.
Because that means you're not building leaders. And you're
Claro
not,
que no.
Like, you can't. It's just.
Estás teniendo un concierto todos los domingos, punto.
Sí, papá, no hay forma que eso es. It's just not sustainable at all. And to be honest with you, again, man, I keep saying it. It is extremely important. It's not fair to those people. And so, like, that's the biggest hurt que tengo yo ahora. Después de 8 años, esa fue la primera cosa que yo le dije, mira, David, we hurt people and we need to make sure that we reconcile or talk to. And so he's between us here, and he's probably going to hear us or see it. He told
Habla en
me.
español para que no te entiendan, ¿no?
I know. él dijo, man, I've reached out. Some of them don't want to communicate with me, and some do. And so, like, it is what it is. And so, like, to me, I commend you. It's not easy.
Claro.
It's extremely hard now. And it seems like it's almost now, especially in Miami, the last 3, 4 to 5 years, it's like an in thing. Everybody's trying to play. Like, it's almost
Una moda, bro.
yeah, it's like a mode. And to be honest, like, I just haven't seen. If si estamos hablando claro aquí bien, ¿ok?
Claro.
Con los años que llevo viendo esto y viendo un par de church planners, de los 20 que conozco, puede ser que sean 4 that are still have healthy churches. Mucho han fallado, el funding ya se le acaba. Like, there's a lot. It's just so much. And that's a good thing. If you're not sustainable with just funds, you can go a while.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually you're gonna need it to require other things, to do other things in ministry,
Claro.
especially if you want to do outreach. And with us, cuando empezamos nosotros, mucho de nuestro budget was used to do outreach ministry, like a lot of outreach. And so we were excited about that part.
Claro.
But then there was a point where we were like, all right, a lot of our funds are being allocated to this, and we need to make sure that we can take care of bills at church to at least keep us in this space, and we can congregate and sort of establish, because we had, at the time with us, it was levels. So after the second year, you had to be at a certain number.
Claro.
And you had to be, your budgeting had to, es una presión bien fuerte que la gente no entiende.
Plantaron con una organización.
No, claro, lo sabes tú. And then, this is a whole nother conversation. Me and you talked about this. You're Hispanic in this circle, and you're looked at like the saving grace sometimes, and the money is shot to you faster because you're Latino.
Claro.
And they're like, you can reach these communities that we can't. So you know what? We're not going to go and get dirty, but we're going to partner with you. We're going to partner. And that's the word that every church planner loves, because either you're going to give me money or you're going to give me a resource. And so,
people.
Oh, muchacho. And so, like, that is the line that I heard, and I saw that. And many times I've seen some guys defeated with it too. Like I've seen some guy. I remember meeting some church planners. Venían con sus book bags a Starbucks para preparar el sermón del domingo. No había, and those are just it. Those are the things. There's a lot to it, man. There's a lot to church planning that you talked about. Que tanto que, yeah, it's hard.
Papi, so, hablando de church plan y de cosas que surgen, ¿verdad? Que pudiste sanar, pudiste reconciliarte, ¿verdad? Hablar con este pastor, etcétera. Te estás congregando nuevamente en esa iglesia que plantaste junto con él.
Yeah.
El podcast que tienes ahora, Dialogue. Iba a decir Daddy Issues.
We all have those.
Daddy Dialogue Podcast está muy duro y es un podcast dedicado específicamente para hablar sobre paternidad y obviamente también para las madres, etcétera. Pero hablando, ¿verdad? De personas que tienen hijos y cómo ayudarlos, herramientas, etcétera. Y me impactó demasiado el origen de este podcast. Ya Jay ha mencionado varias veces que tiene un riñón nuevo, en el sentido de que tuvo problemas de salud. Lo voy a dar un recap aquí súper rápido para que después Jay entre un poquito más en detalle. Tuvo un problema de salud donde tuvo que necesitar un riñón nuevo. Gracias y gloria a Dios consiguió un donante o una donante, que fue su hermana de sangre, que le dio el riñón. Jay mejoró nuevamente. Estuvo enfrentando problemas de salud hace poco, hace como un año, ¿verdad?
Yeah.
Y en ese proceso, nuevamente la palabra conviction again. Este podcast se va a llamar The Conviction. Se da cuenta de algunas situaciones de paternidad o no de paternidad. Se da cuenta que tal vez el tiempo que él pensaba que le quedaba en esta tierra era menos del que él tenía planificado y decide comenzar a crear contenido para que si eso ocurría, su hijo pudiera ver quién era su padre y pudiera conocer a su padre. Este pana le da con contarme eso cuando estamos comiendo en un restaurante y yo allí, el mesero preguntándome si quería más agua y yo allí secándome las lágrimas.
No, es verdad, eso fue lo que pasó.
Bro, es real.
That's what I did. I did it. Man, I don't have a lot in this earth, man. All I have is this talent and this voice that God gave me. And so the one thing that I was extremely sure with, when I got my job in Houston, Texas, I had an office where I had a microphone and I could record anytime I wanted. And at the time, God was really convicting me to be like, hey, record something, because if one day you don't have a kidney, your kid can hear your voice.
That's insane.
And hear you. And so I started recording privately recordings. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to put this as a podcast. And I'm just going to put it out there on Spotify. And at the time it was Anchor. I was like, let me do this. And I record a couple. And as all this is happening, I'm just recording them and putting them up. And I said, if tomorrow I'm not here, Josiah will hear his dad talk and understand like what I was going through, what I fought with, like who was Jesus in my life, how it impacted me, and like how you should walk with him if I'm not here. And so when that happened, I have my kidney at the time. I'm fine. Nothing is wrong with me. I start to lose my kidney and I have to come back to Miami. And at the time, man, I am struggling with the opportunity of thinking that my son had seen me 100% healthy and was going to have to see me in the weakest state ever as a father. And so I struggled tremendously hard with him seeing me like that because, you know, as fathers, we want our kids to see us as this strong leader. And it takes a lot of humility to be like, wow, my kid is about to see me in the weakest state of my life. And God was really affirming to me, Logo, keep recording it. Like, you still have the voice. Like, still do it. What are you doing? Like, continue to do it. And if I've said do it, do it. Don't stop. And so I continue to do it. When I came back, those recordings were there in Texas. They were on Anchor, saved on Spotify. I didn't touch it. I came back to Miami because I lost my kidney. My kidney started to shut down, and I could tell that I was starting to die. And so I had to start dealing with the reality of like, oh man, I got to go back to this place 3 times, 4 hours, and be stuck there. And I had forgot what that pain felt like. I was, after those 7 years of having a kidney, it was 7 long years of feeling like a normal person again. And so dialysis puts a strain on your body. You're exhausted, you're tired, your pitch changes, a lot happens. Your skin is extremely dry. There's just a lot that happens. And so I'm trying to negate not doing it. So I get to Miami, and at that time, your body has toxins and you're sick because nothing is filtering it. Your kidneys aren't working. So you're crippled, you're not walking, nothing is working right. Because you're struggling. But mentally, I'm like, I had a job at iHeart. I was doing traffic.
That's great.
Y yo dije, no, olvídate, aunque I remember like chucking it to the office, like in a wheelchair. Yo llegaba a mi oficina because I didn't want to go back to treatment. Like I was like, yo estaba asustado.
Claro, bro.
Un miedo que,
negación.
yo estaba en eso mismo. And loco, yo voy al tratamiento, me usan el mismo brazo, the same arm I have. Boom, they stick my arm. I hadn't used it in 7 years. They stick it. I get on the machine and the treatment is over. I get up from my seat, and in those 10 seconds, I remembered the 7 years that I had forgot. It all came back. The pain, the ache, the feel of I'm weak. Oh my God. And so I'm not able to process. I was hiding it for so long. For months, I was just negating it, that I had a mental breakdown in my car. I'm in my car. I'm profusely crying because I'm thinking about my son is at home. This is the first time he's going to see me like this. How am I going to navigate him seeing me? So I'm breaking down in the car. I'm crying. I call my sister. My sister picks up the phone. She gets in her car. She drives behind me. I park in front of my house. I'm sitting in my car. My door is 10 steps away. I'm in my car crying. My sister's in the car behind me, walking me through, praying. She tells me this. I'm dropping this in a newsletter in a couple of days. She says, Manny, God has done so much. And she says this. She says, cry, do whatever you got to do, get it out of your system and be done with it. Wipe your face because your son needs to see you when you walk through the door. And you need to be the best representation of Manuel for Josiah. Like you fought for a kidney before, you'll fight again and get another one. She said another cuss word, but she's like, wake up, nigga, like, get up, like, get up. And I'm in the car crying and it literally snapped like, okay, that's it. I gotta do it. Like, okay, I gotta face this and see my little 3-year-old son walk up to me, see me, and I'm trying to hide. Hey, I'm about to cry. I'm trying to hide my pain and my hurt and struggling. I'm trying to mentally deal with it. And I'm looking at my son's face like, oh my God, how am I going to deal with this? And it was a humbling moment to know that my son still loved me regardless of the pain I was going through. And in that moment, it changed everything for me. I knew that regardless of what I was going to do from that moment on, was that I was going to devote myself to making sure that I could steward my son and make sure that every second I spent on this earth, my effort would be to shepherd my son the right way, that he would know Jesus, that I would shepherd my wife right, and that I would put all my effort. Bro, I put 12 years into radio and ministry. I killed myself. I almost lost my family because of this crap. And so I said, man, God, if I have 5, 10 years here, 15 years. And between us here and being 100% transparent, this is how I look at life. Father, I want to be here to see my son graduate. He's 10 right now. It's 8 years. Lord, give me 8 more years. Whatever happens after that happens. I've had every conversation you could possibly have with my mother, my sister, and my wife. They know if tomorrow I'm not here, they know exactly what to do with my family, my home, my son, all that. I'm honest with this because I don't know, man. None of this is guaranteed. So I'm going to make sure that the moments that we're here, they're going to count. The moments I spend with people that I value of quality, they're going to count. The moments I have to spend with you, they're going to count because I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I could die. Man, I go to treatment tomorrow morning at 5. I could die in that chair. I've seen a guy die next to me. Like, it could happen. Like, what? And so I got to make sure that 1, I'm walking the way I need to be walking with Jesus, 1, and 2, that I'm guiding my family first before I worry about my numbers and if my podcast looks good. And bro, because one day you might not be here or your wife might not be here and you were the only Jesus they saw outside of whatever form you saw. And so to me, That's the way I live life now. I make sure that every second, every time I touch a microphone, every time I get a chance to speak to a dad, that I give them everything I have, because I look at it like that. I have limited time, and I don't want your sympathy. I don't want you to feel pity. Bro, I go hard. I get up at 3 every morning. I'm up at 3. I'm in the gym at 5 and I'm in dialysis at 6. Trust me, I'm fighting for me. You don't got to worry. I have to be that example for my son before I start talking to people and be on social media hablando como si yo sé. No. Mi hijo sabe primero. My son knows first privately what dad is doing to fight for himself. So I make sure he sees that representation. He can't say, oh, Jay, my dad spoke like a Christian, but he lived like a heathen at home. Like, nah, bro. That's why the conviction is here, for me to make sure that privately I'm doing what I need to do and following at the steps of Jesus, saying, Father, if you take me to go, you take me tomorrow, Father, I did everything you said do to this point. And I'm okay with it. If I was supposed to do ministry for 10 years and then go to Texas for 2 and then just impact 5 dads for the rest of my life, Father, I'm okay. Because guys, I went 10 years with a wife that could never have a baby. You don't understand the crying that I did. I said, Father, you've given me everything. I've done great in ministry. I'm known by all these church people. Everybody loves me. They follow me. I have all these followers. But I can't give my wife a baby. Bro, I went years. My wife was running the kids ministry, crying because she was helping children but couldn't have her own. So when I look at Josiah, bro, he is the blessing. When people said I couldn't have one, God gave me Josiah, bro. He is the best representation, the best testimony, the best living story of like when everybody says no, God can say yes. When you think that it's impossible, I can make it possible. And to me, I'm going to make sure that I do everything I can to steward that one. I don't have 5, bro. I have 1. And I'm grateful, man. La presión que yo sentí, I told you this, la presión que yo sentí, loco, cuando ese chamaquito llegó. Yo dije, Dios mío, it's like a ton came off my back, because your wife is looking at you and being like, all these things we've accomplished, we're respected, we're liked, all these people admire and respect what we do. But then our wife at home is looking at us like, homeboy, what's our baby? Like, where's our legacy? And thank God my wife wasn't like that. But gracias a Dios, pero eso es la pasión que yo siento para hacer lo que yo hago para los chamacos y para los papás. Y sigo con ese fuego because así lo miro. I look at it. I have one chance here, bro. I don't know if I'm going to be here tomorrow. So I'm going to make sure when I grab this mic and we talk that I can do everything I possibly can to at least start to impact them in a way that they see Jesus and they say like, I want to follow him. Like, I understand what this guy's going through. And maybe because I'm not the perfect father. Oh, I'm not, man. I'm not even close, but I continue to fight to be better. You know what I mean? And so he's done that. And that's a little bit of my story, bro. And I just appreciate I'm able to tell you that, because that is my heart. That is where I'm at. That's where I am this season. You know, when like you're doing ministry and you're doing things like right now, you guys are planning a church. And at the beginning, it was excitement. But there's moments you may even fear, like, man, are we really doing what God has said do? And God will use the person or scenario to confirm to you, yeah, we're here because we're here for these people. Yeah, we're not here for the 30,000, but God has selected these people to do life with. And that's the confirmation you need. I don't need 30,000 dads. Right now, I have a newsletter. It goes out. I think I have 80 fathers on there. And I'm okay with the 80. Bro. But those are the 80 that bro. Listen, open the newsletter, and read it. And I feel like this, la matada que me estoy dando, just giving them this stuff, they value it. And so that's what God is called doing. That's what I'm going to keep doing.
Papi, es que a veces también subestimamos los números y pensamos, no, pues fulano tiene 1 millón, pues yo, si no tengo 500,000 o 1 millón, bro, 80, o sea, 80 padres son 80 hombres.
Y yo quiero
que están dejando un legado.
No, y yo quiero ser la idea ahora que estoy bregando con algo, que estoy pensando cómo vamos a hacer más. And I know you know this too, because I think this is what's happening with you and your wife, is that you realize, okay, content is great. We can create content all day, but God is asking for more from us.
Claro.
Like there's a mandate that he wants from us. And somewhere down the line, as much as you guys ran and you were in Arkansas and everywhere else, God said, nah, homie, y'all gonna do this here. And everybody could think it's crazy. They can have their opinions, but God has said do it. And so like, to me, that takes a lot. That takes a lot of maturity to be like, I'm just going to move and trust in what God has said do. And regardless if it's the 10 people, the 20, the 300, I'm going to, because he wants us to be faithful in the small. And so like, that's how I look at it. I look at it as they're 80. You know how hard it was to just get 80?
Mm-hmm.
And so now, and this is where I wanted to get to, I realize now that everybody has a podcast, bro. That's great. Everybody and their mama has a podcast. Hasta el perro tiene uno, papá. Everybody has one. And there's no problem with that. That's great. But there has to be, if God has called us, there has to be more to just our podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Like holistically, there has to be a connection. We got to be doing something either. There has to be a connection where the church community and what you're doing all interacts and you can do things with, like I saw you guys doing some stuff in the streets, I think on Bayside with some hip hop dudes. Like that's beyond just you making content.
Mm-hmm.
Like just grabbing a camera. Like we need more of that.
Yeah.
It's not happening. People, and like you said, people want to go to church. They just want great attendance.
Mm-hmm.
They want to servir and go home and be done. And so it requires more of us. And I'm just at a point, we're recording the last podcast for this year out on Saturday, and I'm done for the season because I'm like, all right, Father, I got to stand back and I got to figure out how we can connect community and what we're doing beyond just, I don't want, if I can't give dads something more than just a podcast, I'm not doing my job as a believer. If I can't give them something tangible that they can do with their kids together.
Algo práctico, que salga del audio.
Exacto, loco, que sea más que palabra o una grabación. Eso lo hace todo el mundo. Es porque it's because I feel like that. Not everybody's like that. Some people are cool with just doing that. That's fine. But just now, I have to be moving. Like I have to be, my hands gotta be in la masa. Like I gotta be, I can't just, I'm built like that. Like I'm the dude that'll grab the camera. I have to because it's just God has done too much for me, bro. Like the fact I'm here, bro, I remember years ago, man. La meta era, Dios, un hijo un día. Dios, si tú ves en tu fe que tráeme un hijo, nada más uno. Y Dios, una casa un día. Esas dos cositas, Dios, si tú me las puedes, por favor. No un carro, no. Una casita, no tiene que ser la más nueva. Y un hijo, Dios. Uno de los dos. Para mi esposa que... Y Dios me dio esas cosas, loco, como si nada. En un mismo año me lo dio todo. Like when I thought... Y para yo no di que ponerme a trabajar para él. Like, what is that, bro? Like, what? Like, you're not doing God no favors because you post up a video, cuz. Like, I get it. I respect it. I'm not knocking it. No cap. But like, there has to be more. Like, God has called us for more. And I'll be honest, not all believers are built like that.
Claro.
Some believers aren't built to be out here in the streets and getting dirty. It's not for them, and it's okay. It's fine.
Claro.
But there's a lot of us that have the energy, and we're called to because that's what God has said do. And so, it's intriguing, but it's exciting because I know that God has called you and your wife for something different. You guys aren't set for like the normal church folk. And so like that's exciting. And I know
it's painful too, but yeah.
No, I know it's painful because it's not the most glamorous and the nicest, but I'll be honest with you. It just has to be refined and God will do that his time. Like I really believe that you won't even know it yet. It's going to take time. It's like anything in your craft. You did your thing. It took you a while. Like Jay, he was recording at one point. It took him time. It took me 2-3 years to figure out what my radio voice was and what I knew how to do well and what I didn't know how to do well.
I need to start working on that.
You era un reguero back in the day. I thought it was DJ Khaled. So like, era un reguero. And so like now.
We're the best.
Yeah, we're the best. And so like those things, it is just going to come, man, with time. I believe it.
Claro, papi, no. Así que teólogos y teólogas, si usted algún día necesita motivación y necesita encontrar la razón por la cual dejar un legado, dejar algo en las redes, en el internet, escuche lo que el caballero tiene que decir. Papi, antes de irnos, ¿verdad? Tampoco queremos abusar de tu tiempo. Sabemos que te levantas temprano, etcétera. Como mencioné al principio, tú eres uno de esos tipos que, y como tú bien mencionaste también, trataste de ser ese puente entre la música anglo, la latina, etcétera, de padres puertorriqueños y dominicanos, etcétera. Trataste, ¿verdad? O atrás sigues tratando de hacer ese merch y de ser ese puente, etcétera. Tú eres de esas primeras personas hasta donde yo tengo entendido mi conocimiento, que comenzaste esta vuelta de pre-podcast entrevistas a artistas y todo esto para las redes, cuando lo que había era MySpace, cuando comenzaron las emisoras digitales, que todo el mundo decía, emisoras digitales, qué porquería, y ahora las emisoras digitales se están quedando con todo.
Yeah, exactly.
Bro, ¿cómo tú has visto la evolución de la música? ¿Cómo tú ves ahora mismo la música urbana sacra? ¿Dónde estaba y dónde está ahora? ¿Y dónde crees que va a estar?
I was trying to run from this. Why did you bring this up?
Papi,
tipo,
podemos llevar 4 horas y no te la voy a dejar pasar.
Tipo. ¿Cómo lo veo? Man, tú sabes que para mí siempre la música sagrada cristiana, reggaetón en ese tiempo, si no fuera por el reggaetón en ese tiempo, Manny Monte y Funky, no me hubieran dado una oportunidad en el radio. Porque, te voy a explicar, porque en ese tiempo, I was like into CHH really hard. Like I was listening to Cross Movement and no había Lecrae ni nada de eso.
No.
Eran otros chamacos. Nada de eso. All the refined stuff you see now. No, era un reguero. And so, en ese tiempo, I wasn't in tune. I knew about Manny Montes.
Okay.
And en ese tiempo él fue a mi iglesia, son años atrás. Él hacía una canción que se llamaba... que era la famosa de un chamaco.
Vida dura, Santito.
Yeah, Santito. This
Santito.
is long.
La vida que nace de muerte.
You're really showing your age right now.
Bro.
So listen, en ese
I'm
tiempo.
I'm a fanboy of Manny.
Y te voy a decir, mira.
Tú lo sabes, bro.
Ese y también un chamaco, un señor que todavía rapea, que se llama MC Charles, que vive en Tampa.
Claro, bro.
Sí,
claro.
y BK Rap.
También.
Y estos chamacos que son de la vieja escuela.
Pioneros.
Pioneros. Y en ese tiempo, I was like, all right, if I'm going to get in the Spanish station, aunque mi español no está muy bueno, pero está medio calle, yo voy a decir que yo voy a tocar reggaetón y hip hop. Y así yo meto el hip hop, pero con el reggaetón. Y así fue que entré. Porque ellos oyeron el demo. Oh, vas a tocar reggaetón. Gloria a Dios, vamos. And that's how they jumped. That's how I got in. And so they were like, ay,
el hip hop.
Ay, le metí a el cross movement, flame y no sé qué. And so, ¿cómo yo lo veo ahora? Man, it's different. It's so complex now. I wish that back then there were so many people covering the genre.
Claro.
You could say, oh, nada más hay 5 o 10 pelagatos. Loco, no había nadie. Yo era solo, loco. Yo estaba solo y los únicos que se atrevían a hacerlo eran algunas emisoras en un segmento especial como vamos a hacer Urban Night boom, ahí
el viernes.
Vamos al chamaco que suena medio joven, mételo ahí en Houston, reggaetonero. En ese tiempo había un tipo que le metía bien duro, que tenía una emisora en Puerto Rico, tu versión, Mr. P, creo que se llamaba.
Mr. P, claro que sí.
Mr. P, ajá. Y en ese tiempo,
la leyenda.
Él tenía una página, tuversión.com, and so en ese tiempo, he was the source that I would go to. I remember cuando yo toqué una canción que se llamaba Rambo saca la bazooka.
Rambo saca la bazooka.
Hasta la yuca. Y en ese tiempo, loco, cuando yo estoy tocando eso en el radio, loco, la gente llamándome.
Que tú le metes más
varón,
que lo
mira,
cristiano.
la gente llamándome, diciéndome, varón, que esa música del diablo. No está, porque tú sabes lo que yo era un sucio, mira lo que yo hacía. te voy a aclarar lo que yo hacía. Yo tocaba una canción cristiana y yo cogía el dembow de Don Omar sin palabras y lo tocaba antes de
la pista.
Sí, claro, papi, hacíalo para que ellos cojan un poquito. You know, because it was hard. So I was like, yo, this beat is sick. So I would use the beat, talk on top, y ellos se confundían.
Claro.
Ellos que escuchaban, los cristianos, que escuchaban y sabían la canción de Don Omar porque la cogía.
Presente.
Sí, presente. La escuchaban, pero sabían la pista. Hermano, que me llamaban, bro. Oye, bro, yo en el radio, like, excited, bro, tocando música, and you're like, excited. Y llama a un hermano, ring, a las 11 de la noche. Hermano, estamos escuchando la emisora aquí en La Nueva y queremos saber por qué estás tocando estas canciones. Estas canciones son del enemigo y por qué no ponen canciones de adoración para adorar a nuestro Dios a esta hora. Y
hermano, acuéstese a dormir.
Varón, yo decía,
mañana.
no kids wanna. I was like, yo, I would tell him not on the air.
Claro.
I'd be like, mira, varón, ora por mí. Pero yo he sido claro que eso no es lo que vamos a tocar aquí. Si tú quieres, en la mañana van a tocar tu Marcos Witt, tú le bajas. Tranquilo. And they would get mad, bro. Se ponían bravos y me llamaban 20,000 nombres y era feo. Y yo tuve una situación de, voy a decir, mira, una historia, ven, es como una película. Yo estoy con mi papá en un taller, arreglando un carro. Llegamos ahí y mi papá no le dice al tipo que le estamos hablando, un mecánico, que yo soy locutor en la nueva.
Claro.
Okay, el tipo, y mi papá le dice, ¿tú escuchas emisora? Y él dice, sí, yo ocho. He listens to La Competencia.
Claro.
89.7, Radio Luz, creo que se llama. Y él le dice, sí, yo no escucho la nueva porque hay un muchacho ahí que toca reggaetón, música del diablo los viernes.
No.
Loco, yo le hice así al tipo ese. Era una película, loco. Yo le dije, mira, loco, yo soy el hombre que toca esa música del diablo. Dios te bendiga, varón. And he looked at me like, varón, yo no pensaba que no.
I
thought it was the devil. And so, like, ahora, let me get to the point, man. I think now it is extremely, it's exciting, but it's complex now. Back then it was a lot simpler to maneuver. Now there's levels,
¿Tú crees que es complejo por el negocio?
Oh, no, for sure.
Eso es lo que lo hace complejo.
Sí, el negocio y yo creo que mucha gente no entienden que el género cristiano sacro es así, loco. It's very small.
Okay.
Compared to the big, like they look at the 20 or 30 reggaetoneros and they just stick to that. Like they don't see it bigger than that. And what got me excited about what I was doing was that I realized, yes, I'm going to hook up with these Latinos, but there's this whole white, black gospel side that hasn't been tapped in. And those people are more excited than you are to connect with you, but you don't want to. So muchas veces yo hablaba with the gospel dudes, the radio DJs. Yeah, man, you gonna give me a Latino guy? Yes, I'll play it. And they were so open, pero
just like that.
There was no connection. There was not. And so like now I'm praying that a lot of the guys I talk to, that they're thinking like that. But sometimes it just seems, I don't know, like it looks like you guys are connected, the ones I know.
You mean the content creators with the musicians?
Exactly, yeah. But even I'm noticing, even as I talk to them, that they're still favorites between artists and select content creators. Claro. I say that because, and it shouldn't be like that because there's not that many. And so like, if I'm an artist, right?
Claro.
And there's 10 content creators, that's 10 different platforms I can get on. Claro. But sometimes I dealt with it. Like I dealt with certain artists that it took like el primer año que yo empecé, no bregaban conmigo. Who are you? What do you do? I never heard of you. Like, okay, cool. So you get offended. Okay, well, okay. I'm going to keep working. 2-3 years down.
You scratch it off your list.
Yeah, you scratch it off the list. And then I remember then Expolite comes. And at that time, Expolite was banging.
That's the
and so we have a stage with glass around. Now I'm the only dude doing urban music. I talk on the microphone. People are like, who the heck is that guy? He don't sound like none of these church DJs. I need to communicate with that guy. And sadly, if they would have looked at me beyond that, first, when they would have took some time to do some homework, they would have knew that I was as valuable back then than I am now. And so I'm still hearing that residue of that with some content, not all. Some are telling me, yeah, man, they're making it hard for me. And I get it. Some of them, what I tell them
Los
is,
artistas te dicen eso?
No, the content creators are saying some guys don't even mess with me or they make it hard for me to have them. And I get it. You have a platform. Maybe there's a number you're looking for to at least waste someone's time. But the genre is at a really healthy place where we shouldn't. That's the problem that Lecrae was having with Reach Records. I'll give you an example. And we had this conversation.
Sí, oriéntame ahí porque yo, papi, con la música anglo,
let me explain to you. So Reach Records, which is probably the most successful Christian hip hop label on the American side, was doing really well, but was only catering to big and primarily white platforms like Relevant. And if just because the Latinos and blacks didn't have the finances or the platforms big enough to get the support. And so 2-3 years in, they realized we're connected with this big audience, but our core people, our people aren't even listening or watching our stuff because we're not catering to them also. And so there's a disconnect there because if I'm this guy, and it's sad because ahora, loco, hay gente que llevan 20 años haciendo la música todavía. Dos o tres tipos que I can still name that are like they do tours in Mexico and they're still going. And
no,
they
la rompen feísimo.
Yeah, durísimo. And they still make it tough for new guys coming in. And they don't know. Esa es la cosa, bro. You don't know que ese chamaquito que ahora le está metiendo y no tiene una plataforma grande, tú no sabes que si él se sigue metiendo, en 3 años puede ser una bestia. Y puede ser que esté corriendo esta vaina sin miedo. Y ese es el problema que sometimes we don't really analyze. So we overjudge or we're overcritical or we like, oh, because you're not there or you don't. And it's, the most humbling thing it was when I dealt with people that shunned me, like didn't, oh, ¿quién eres tú? Jay Blair, I never heard of you. And then 3 years later, y se hacían que me conocían en el evento.
Oh, claro.
I know this is Jay Blair. Yo mirándolo, loco, you didn't want to give me an interview 2 years ago. Like, but I had to eat it.
Claro.
Love him and be like, para que él lo vea, un pescozón bien fresco aquí, para que él vea sin miedo. And it's because at the end of the day, I tell these content creators, I tell them all the time, like, continue to be focused on what God has said do, bro. And he's going to honor you no matter what. And don't let that one artist and I'm not knocking artists. I'm just saying, if that dude doesn't give you an opportunity, mira.
Pasa lo mismo a la inversa también.
No, yo tuve, y termino con esto. Yo sigo diciendo eso y no termino. Unos años atrás.
Tienes corazón de pastor.
Mira este tipo. Unos años atrás, yo tuve una entrevista. I got this award in Nueva York at this thing called the Kingdom Choice Awards with all these Americans. There's the hip hop awards de cristiano. And so I got an award, an ambassador award. Y yo llego a Nueva York. Y yo that week, yo nada más quería contenido, loco. Yo fui de que a buscar un award, pero era para hacer 30,000 entrevistas ahí para llevar a YouTube en ese tiempo. So yo llego ya al evento, renté un local abajo en la escuela, and I'm set, I got cameras, I'm ready to go. Y loco, I'm doing interviews. Y de momento me llega un blanquito, the last guy that comes to interview. Un chamaquito que en ese tiempo se llamaba, he had a website called Sin is Whack. Y era un chamaquito que se llama Andy Minio en ese tiempo.
Wow.
Okay? Y el chamaquito llega, el interview está, you can still see the interview on YouTube. It's there. We sit down and we're talking and he flips out like, who are you? I've never heard a guy talk like this. We start talking. We did the interview and that guy, he wasn't even signed to reach or nada. Okay?
Wow.
That guy became, years later, still we communicate. Like that's why you never know. Social Club, chamacos también que yo conocí en la emisora, llegaron los dos un día, uno llegó a la prisión y el otro llegó de Youth Pastor, se juntaron, Social Club, boom, pasó ahí en la emisora. You never know. So that when you close la oportunidad of some of these guys, it just becomes really, you don't know. Look, we're dealing here with Jay. No sabemos que si en 3 años aquí no se va ni poder entrar aquí.
Es normal, papi.
It's going to be really hard. ¿Se entiende? It's going to be really hard. And so like, you don't know those things, and so you have to be open and discern. Not everybody's for you, but at the same time discern. But it's a lot more complex now. It's different. I wish when I was doing it, que había el apoyo y todos los chamacos. Ahora hay como 20,000 chamacos haciendo YouTube. Like, there's all these. Bro, when I went to your launch, I was like, man, you imagine if I had all these content creators here? Like, this wasn't happening. Like, mire, yo no sabía que Jay hacía contenido tampoco, but like, I was like, all these guys here, loco, I didn't have none of that. I was by myself. Dolo. Yo no sabía. I didn't know one other. I had this camera. It's called the Flip. It's a little, you press one button. I recorded my first video in Expolite like that. It's still up on YouTube. You can see it. Has like 40,000 views. Eso fue cuando se convirtió Héctor el Father.
Oh, wow.
Que llegó ahí, allá atrás. Sí, loco, que llegó con como 20 rajatablas ahí con él. He had them like soldados. Boom, 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 boom. They were all around. No lo dejaban ni hablar. El tipo. It was crazy. And, bro, I grabbed the little camera and I was recording dudes like this. Oh, dame una entrevista. Like, because I just, no habían dicho DSLR. Y que no, let me get a T2i and let's shoot with a Sony and let's get a good lens. And no, look, there was none
wireless
of that,
mics. And
no, let's get a little, look, get your iPhone, turn it and let's put a lens on it. There was none of that, bro. It was like, grab your thing and let's go. And I just uploaded. I was excited back then. It was exciting just to put up. I was like, man, I'm one of the only guys out here that gets to represent these dudes that nobody, some of these Americans were like, I've never knew about these Spanish guys, Jay. And look, you put them up here and they speak English too. Así fue que se juntó KJ52 con DJ Morphosis
Qué
and
duro.
Funky, and they went on tour, all those things.
Qué locura, bro.
So esas son las cosas que you know, that I see now, but it's so, I wish, man. I don't know how you feel about it, but I wish that back then there was a guy like you or a couple of y'all que no había nada de eso.
Yo no tanto en el sentido de que sí, yo hago contenido de música urbana, pero yo no hago contenido de noticias en ese sentido, ¿verdad? Yo hago entrevistas con artistas porque me interesa saber su punto de vista teológico sobre las cosas, cómo ven la fe,
Yeah, so you're
la
not worried about
música.
the music or the singles and
Exacto, yo no soy como que una página de noticias de que quiere ser un historiador del género.
Yeah.
En ese sentido, ¿me entiendes?
Yeah,
pero
yeah.
me hubiese encantado que para ese tiempo tú, capellán, hubiesen habido gente como tú y capellán, hubiesen habido 10 más y que hubiesen podido cubrir la magnitud de eventos tan grandes como Expolit, que para una sola persona o dos
sí, loco,
era demasiado.
No, and they weren't doing it an injustice. Tú ibas a Expolit y era un segmento que daban las emisoras porque ellos no pensaban que el género urbano era tan importante para representarlo. So, eran muchos libros y muchos. They would get you when it was. Tenían una noche juvenil que hacían los sábados y ahí tiraban 3 pelas de reggaetón para que digan that we have an urban event. You know what I mean? And por eso hice Expo, and I would bring 20 reggaetoneros free on a Sunday, en una tarima ahí en la iglesia, y 3 minutos cada reggaetonero, and I had 20 of them. Lo que no le daban chance allá, yo me los traía para acá. Eso, eso era, porque para mí era importante que yo tuviera. Tú sabes y tú has entendido, no sé si tú sabes esto, pero muchos de esos chamacos que vienen de muchos otros países no tienen nada. You know, they're literally on their last dime. They got their last 30 CDs printed that, you know, that they spent all their funds from where they were at to fly here, to stay in a hotel, to stand at a table and pray que venden 30 CDs, que tienen 5, you know.
Para poder comer ese día.
Exacto. Pasando hambre, que yo lo he visto. So, like, es mucho que hay que entender y a la misma vez darle una oportunidad porque son muchachos. Yo entendí, bro. I was an artist too. So I know what I know what it is to go. Yo me recuerdo una vez, brother, que fuimos a rapear a una iglesia en Lakeland, ¿ok? Eso es como 3-4 horas de aquí. Llegamos ahí, llegamos a un acuerdo que había una ofrenda, varón. Tú sabes, una ofrendita que iba a bajar al final. ¿Sabes? Para que sea la gasolina, una sodita para ir para atrás. Varón, termina el servicio y la ofrenda no llega. Y nosotros parados. You know how you're standing outside the church?
Esperando ahí.
Sí, varón. No, loco, es que no llegó la ofrenda. No, y uno bravo, loco.
Qué difícil,
bravo con Dios, bravo con cristianos. Y uno, mira, sin un peso, casi sin gasolina para llegar a Miami, ni para una sodita para bajarse, bravo, cansado porque se gastó 20 minutos rapeando ahí con una pista y un equipo de sonido que no sirve. Loco, todas esas vainas las pasé yo. So, cuando yo llegué a ese punto de radio, I have a tremendous amount of passion because I know what those struggles are like.
Qué duro, bro. Papi, no queremos abusar de la confianza y del tiempo. Quisiera que esto se repitiera en una próxima ocasión hablando de otros temas y otras cosas. Jay Blaze, gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Gracias por compartir de tu testimonio, de tu sabiduría. ¿Dónde te podemos conseguir? ¿Dónde podemos escuchar tu podcast? ¿Dónde te podemos seguir? ¿Cuáles son las plataformas que tienes? Danos toda la información para que te podamos seguir en todos lados.
Man, it's easy. You can follow me at jblaze305 or you can go to manuelgarciajr.me, and then you'll see like everything that I have going on with the fathers, the newsletter. You can sign up there, or on Instagram. I drop videos every week, at least 3, where you see a 1-minute parenting tip or something that, you know what I mean, that you can get to help you with either your marriage. This week we're talking about things your wife wants to hear, like, hey, you make me better. So, you know, we really go in. We're having. Yeah.
Mami, tú me haces mejor, tú lo sabías.
I know, and then you have to finish with the end part of that. You make me better because.
Porque tú sacas lo mejor de mí.
Vaya, papi.
Tú me haces persistente.
Mira, yo voy a decir esto, man, como yo no voy. Yo hablé de eso because. yo hablé de eso porque yo pensé que al fin del día, mi esposa me aprobó mucho temprano antes de yo pensar que yo era alguien. Si no fuera por mi esposa que me apoyó en el principio cuando yo no estaba en la emisora y ella se sentaba en we were newly married y ella estaba en una camita al lado del setup que yo tenía del micrófono. Yo grababa y ella dormía. Wow. Y ella creyó en mí cuando yo empecé ahí, que llegué a una emisora. She's the first person so before I knew, that's like you and your wife. If she wouldn't have approved you early, bro, who knows if you would have kept going or stopped.
No, papi, no, las veces que yo iba a cerrar el Instagram y toda la viernes, papi, al par de meses, bro.
Yeah,
no, dale ahí. Yo es que la gente no entiende, la gente no comprende.
Y eso
no me compran la idea, no entiende lo que estoy hablando. Dale. Y, bro, con mucho, con poco, aquí estamos, gracias a Dios y a ella, bro.
Eso, muchachos, y eso, honrar a tu esposa así, eso lo digo yo. Al fin del día lo he aprendido ahora, después de muchos años. So,
facts,
yeah, man, that's where you can find me, JBlaze305. If you like the real stuff is the newsletter. It's no fluff. I talk about my life. I talk about stuff there that I put myself in ways. I talk about stuff there that, that challenges people in many different levels. So, it's my passion right now. I'm writing in a way I've never written in 20 years. And so
bro,
it's becoming challenging, but it's getting me to really open up about my personal life and really help fathers, because I think I want to give them something of value.
Papi, durísimo. Y si eventualmente pones todos esos newsletters juntos y haces un libro, palote.
Estamos en eso, papi. I got you.
Realmente piensan igual. Jay Blaze en la casa, amigo teólogo y teóloga. Por favor, síguelo por allá. Suscríbete al newsletter. Chequea el podcast Daddy Dialogues. Que iba a decir issues otra vez.
It's okay, bro. It's okay. I can't say your name all the way. I struggle.
Which one, Carlos?
I know it's the theology of the streets. In English, it's easy, but Spanish is a little hard. La teología de la casa.
¿Viste, bro? Ya lo tienes, bro.
It's a little hard. It's so easy to say in English, though. Theology of the streets. It sounds real hood, too.
Sounds hard.
Yeah, I like it. I like it like that. That's why you know. That's why he says it like that.
Papi, así que ya lo tiene por ahí. Vamos a ver si hacemos un segmento en inglés. No, pues.
¡Hey! Este tipo.
Jay Blaze me pompió.
Taking the theology to the streets.
To the streets.
Yeah, I like it.
Till I die.
Yeah. with the cross in the chest.
Bro, that would be amazing.
It goes hard.
Familia, ya lo sabes, siga Jay Blaze por allá en toda la vuelta, todos esos sitios que nos mencionó. Te voy a dejar todos los enlaces aquí en la descripción. También recuerda seguirnos en todas las páginas, en todas las redes, en todos los lados, como La Teología de la Calle, para más contenido como este. También la página de nuestra iglesia, Unrecognized Church. En Instagram, Recognized Church. Instagram, síguenos por allá. Si estás en Miami o en el área cerca, llégale. Tenemos una experiencia bien bonita los domingos a las 5:30. Toda la información está en nuestra página de Unrecognized. Llégale por allá. Gracias a los panas durísimos de LJ Media que hacen posible este podcast, que se ve así, con la calidad, con la excelencia, esa imagen crisp, ese sonido en la madre, que te estruje las bocinas del televisor o del carro. Gracias a los panas aquí que siempre nos dan un cariño brutal. Será hasta la próxima, amigo teólogo y teóloga. Te envío un fuerte abrazo. Dios te bendiga.